Hello and welcome back to the Home Reiki Meditation channel. I'm Sirmanartha, and today's video we're going to be going into Reiki Level 2 Introduction. So for those of you that may have questions or curious about Reiki energy healing, Reiki is a Japanese form of energy healing created by Mikao Usui, and Level 2 covers the proponents that you need to learn to cover distance healing. So in level 1, we learned about physical healing, hands-on or hands-off, and with a proximity distance for self and others, as well as animals or plants or whatever you like to send energy to. Now, level 2 is going to be universal in the aspect that the energy can be sent to any place, anytime, anywhere. So what we have is, I'm going to read my notes. In the beginning, Reiki Level 2, you first need to have successfully passed and be attuned at Level 1. So that's very important. If you're listening to people telling you that you can send this energy without being attuned, they don't know what they're talking about. You have to be attuned to channel and send Reiki energy for level 1. And then you'll be attuned after learning how to send level 2. Then you'll be attuned to increase and send that energy as well. Okay, and now in level 1, I introduced the habit of meditation and affirmations before starting a session. And this is done to ground yourself, accessing the Reiki energy, also known as the universal life force, and set the intentions for healing. Well, it's kind of like distance is pretty much the same. Before you send the energy, you want to do a meditation or affirmation and who you're sending it to, what the energy is intended for. And Reiki is an intelligent energy, so it knows. Let's see, in learning level 2, the same format is applied with the affirmation and grounding. However, since level 2 consists of distance healing, the effects of meditation need to be for the duration of the session. So pretty much what you're going to be doing is you're going to be focusing and meditating upon sending the energy to that person throughout the session. You can do this mentally inside your mind. You can do it in a number of ways. You can do it by looking at a photo, keeping it to memory. Some people also do it through Zoom or phone, but I don't really recommend that because it's kind of like if your client is looking at their phone or picture or something while you're sending it, that's breaking the concentration. So I don't recommend that, even though I know people that do it, and I've kind of done it for certain clients, even though I've cautioned them against it. Let's see. In order for distance Reiki to work, there are 3 universal laws that need to be adhered to. Number 1 is the subject must give consent. If they are not in a position to give consent, a legal parent, guardian, or custodian must give consent for them. So that way the recipient has to be aware that they're allowing you to send this energy, and that's a trust issue. I mean, that's a trust boundary. There are people that seem to think that they can just send it whenever to whoever on a whim, and it doesn't work like that. They have to have knowledge of it. They have to have a consent, and even if some cases when they do give consent, they can always pull that consent. If you're a client and you're not comfortable with somebody's energy or intentions, they don't feel right, listen to your intuition and just tell them, say, hey, this isn't for me. Let's see. The practitioner must have information on the subject, like their name, full name if possible, an image if available, and a location if accessible. So the more information that is provided to the healer helps them to pinpoint on who the energy is being sent to. It's always better to be specific rather than general. So, like, for example, I have a client calling me, and hypothetically, her name is Abby Mills. Uh, Probably sounds like a movie person. Just for the sake of this, her name is Abby Mills, and she's in Dallas, Texas. Now, as long as I know that, I know who the energy is being sent to, I know the location it's being sent to, and a photo helps pinpoint it too. But that's a boundary thing too. Not everybody is comfortable with sharing a picture, and you have to kind of like be careful with that because sometimes they might have wrong intentions and send a picture that could kind of like deviate from the intention of the healing. And now let's see. Third one is the intention must be set to do no harm. So Reiki is sent for the highest good of healing and protection and peace. And anything beyond that, it's distorting the Reiki energy. I don't recommend it because there's a thing called karma. So if you send bad energy out, bad energy is going to come back. There are 3 ways to perform a distance session. One is visualization. In visualization, the practitioner needs to picture the subject receiving the Reiki as well as themselves positioning hand placements on the subject. So, like me, when I go into it, and to start off, I'm getting a mental image of the person sitting or laying down, and I picture the energy or my hands going over areas like the crown chakra, the third eye, and the throat. Then also an image, a picture of the subject, or a facsimile to physically work on, like a doll, dummy, or in the case of pets and animals, a stuffed animal, or any type works, but it's best to have a proper representation of the type of breed. So basically what that means is you can use a picture of the subject, but if you want to go a little bit more, you can use kind of like an artist when you're doing a painting and use one of those wooden dummy dolls. You can use an image of a doll, dummy, or whatever works for you to envision that person or that animal or whatever you're working on and place your hands on or over that character. Third one is person. Now, this can be done on oneself or on another. The meditation of focus must stay on the subject who is in another location. Actually, I got to reread that because that kind of this can be done. Okay, when you're working on a person, basically, well, like for example. If I'm sending to somebody else and I don't have an image and I don't have a doll to work on, I can place the hands over me, and oftentimes the subject client will feel that energy in those areas. Now, in order to do a distance session, the practitioner must first be attuned to level 2. Now, I can't stress that enough because it's not like you learn one and then you're good to go. One is just basically for hands-on healing in a physical proximity, and 2 is learning how to send a distance, and you have to be attuned for that after you learn all the level 2 requirements. Now, a standard session lasts anywhere from 15 minutes, can go as long as the practitioner prefers. They can add enhanced modalities for a longer set, like crystals, or I do Reiki massage. You can do variations of yoga, sound gong, aromatherapy. Let's see. It is important that whatever conditions the practitioner is in is one of comfort because they will physically transferring the atmospheric conditions onto the subject. So it's kind of like attuning oneself and sending those sensations to another person. And I've kind of learned that through trial and error because one time I had a bad leg cramp during a session and I massaged it out, and then afterwards the client felt the massage. So it was a weird experience for her until I explained to her what was going on. In addition to working on people, the only exception is people with heart devices implanted or attached, people who are intoxicated and pregnant. Women can be done lightly, but it is best to avoid the areas of the sacral, navel, and root chakras as it may induce labor. So basically, what that implies is Reiki sends out an electrical energy current that can interfere with pacemakers or heart monitors, devices for for breathing and lungs and kidney and heart. Also, if somebody's drunk or intoxicated, you don't really want to work on them because it's kind of weird. They might get so relaxed that they might pass out, but you don't know what their frame of mind is in. And I've actually had, when I was training years ago, I did treat this one girl who was on all these narcotics or pills, and she actually got mad at me because the Reiki removed her high. So you just got to be careful about working on people in that type of condition. As well as pregnancy, you got to be careful because you don't want to create an inducement of labor. Well, it may be in some situations as long as it's consensual and they're ready. Like if you give a pregnant woman a foot massage and that can induce labor, this is kind of like the same thing, but I don't recommend it. Reiki can be performed on everybody from children, but for children, you will need a parental consent. So anybody under 18, they will need a legal guardian or parents' approval, consent. It's always better to have something written, or you can go with verbal too if there's a witness, but it's just always better to have consent for working with minors. Reiki can be performed on pets and animals with consent for pet owners and without for wild animals. Now, pets are kind of like children, so if you're going to send energy to somebody's pet, it's always better to have the consent of the owner or the family that's taking care of them. Wild animals, I don't really send so much. I've done it a couple times to animals that looked like they were injured, or maybe I felt they needed to calm down, but I don't really recommend that because you never know what type of sense you're going to trip into an animal, especially one in the wild. Reiki can be formed on plant life, and a note of caution though, it is not a cure-all for the effects of plants. You will still need to give them sunlight if needed, water if needed, and in some cases pruning or grounding of fresh dirt, as well as the removal of insects. So it enhances the quality of the plant, but it's not like, oh, I don't need to water it because I gave it Reiki. So you still need to take care of your plants. So Reiki can be used on food or water, and this is done for a purification process. And also a note of caution though, if the food is spoiled or contaminated, I would just throw it out. If the water is polluted, dirty, or impure, and you don't want to take the time to boil it and filter it, just dump it. Reiki can be used for cleansing, healing, protections, and banishments of negative energies and entities in a person's home, object, or area. And a caution though, in the case of entities, they may become aware of the practitioner and try and disturb their concentration, or they might try to attach to you. So it's a good reminder of the universal law nothing can access or enter you without their consent or permission. So you hear about people being possessed or succubus and stuff like that. That only happens if somebody invites them in, and they're easy to remove. So just, if you're careful, if you're working with an entity or anything to try to remove them, don't allow them to become attached to you. In learning Reiki 2, the use of Reiki symbols will come into play. Now, in order to use the symbols, the practitioners must know them. They can recite them to memory, draw them with finger in the air, or visualize the symbols. And as we go through, these lessons, we'll learn more about Reiki symbols and what each one does and how to do the motions for them. So hopefully you are inspired by this video to learn more about Reiki. If you'd like to learn more, please let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell to be updated on all my videos as they come out. With that, have a good evening and keep healing.